Hi everybody, hopefully you can hear me okay. Take my glasses off so you don't have no reflection. Today I thought I would discuss the I in us. The other day I was talking about effort and working on ourselves, and some people were saying about the I am exercises. I don't know if I'll get to that today, but we'll see. But the I is what we're trying to develop of ourselves, find our true I. As I was saying in the other episode, our personality is made up of lots of different I's, different versions of ourselves that are created through our childhood and into our adulthood from our peers, from our education, from how we're raised. It develops our personalities, but our essence is the one true real I of ourselves, the real essence of who we are. So Gurdjieff says, their own I, the kernel of their essence. So it's the kernel. And our personalities are the skin like an onion that wraps around us, and we portray and use in our everyday, day-to-day life instead of working through our essence and being the real I. We use this personality instead because it protects us from the everyday onslaught of everyday life. I find it quite weird that we make all these different personalities. You could think of them as masks. We wear our different masks for different events and different environments and different places that we go to. And I find it quite strange that we've done this, us as humanity, that we do this. Why don't we be our true essence? Why aren't we our real essence? Well, maybe this is all part of the mission of trying to develop that essence out. Gurdjieff does explain it in his books, which you can go to and read them. Obviously, I always suggest go to the core of all teachings. If it's Gurdjieff, Steiner, blah blah blah, go and read the originals, read the Buddhist texts, read the original esoteric Christianity texts and such like. And I shall go on with another quote. So as to be able to manifest myself, not according to my nature, but according to the previous instructions of my collective consciousness. Now, our consciousness is what's making up all our different personalities, different I's, but our consciousness can also contact our essence. But what really contacts our essence is probably our subconscious, our unconscious. I never know which is better to say. Unconscious makes it sound like we're unable to access it, where our subconscious means it's underlying, it's there, and it's trying to come up through. Our subconscious is able to see things in ways that our consciousness does not. Now, carrying on with Gurdjieff. So these are all from Beelzebub's Tales at the moment. My usual inner struggle with the lawful refusal of my nature to submit to my consciousness. And it is true, our personalities, our other I's, try their best to distract us. I was saying this last time, we find all kinds of distractions, and most of the time it's ourselves distracting ourselves from working on ourselves. It's they're like little demons and devils inside us trying to stop us getting on and finding the angelic side of ourselves. The indispensable condition which is first of all required from a man for his still possible arrival on a new path, namely the path of evolutionary movement, is to have at least some data for the acquisition of his own I. So Gurdjieff's books are instructions and teachings on how to develop that I, how to find that real I, the essence of yourself, and how to become aware and observe all your other I's working on yourself, all your other I's, how they come out through the day and change as events take us. He does this scenario about a man getting up in the morning and goes to brush his hair, then drops his brush, picks it up, a little bit irked by it, goes to brush his hair again, drops it again, and that's like puts him in a bit of bad mood. So he goes to pick it up again, and because he's so angry that he's dropped it a second time, he drops it again. So that's the third time he's dropped it, and now he's like, goes down to his breakfast and is annoyed that the newspaper isn't there. So he sets off his day in a bit of a bad mood, but as he's on his way to work, for example, he passes some beautiful blonde who gives him a wave and a smile, and that makes him feel better. So these are different eyes in ourselves being distracted by different things. That first eye in that man was annoyed at the brush, so he's trying to make himself look good with his hair, you know, and then he's annoyed that someone hasn't got the newspaper ready for him. And then another eye on his way to work, he's suddenly flattered by this beautiful blonde woman giving him a wave and a smile. Gurdjieff recites the whole day of, or recounts the whole day of how our moods go up and down as different eyes are taken by, or different personalities are taken by what's happening to us. Whether good things are happening, puts us back into a good mood and feels good and elated, or if accidents happen or bad things happen, then we sink back down into Right then. This third impulse, the entire sensing of the whole of oneself, which should be sometimes in the waking state of man, is of all the 7 exclusively proper to man impulses the most important, because its association with the first 2, which can be approximately expressed in English by the words can and wish, almost composes and represents the genuine I of a man who has reached responsible age. And Gurdjieff goes on a lot about the I am exercises and the I can and the I wish to do things. You have to wish with all your eyes in you wanting to be part of this. You want to be the I am exercises, the trying to center yourself and to feel all your centers coming together. And it's like a recollection exercise of working on yourself. And he does various ways of doing this. And you have to really concentrate, try not to let anything get in your mind or distract you while you're doing it, because you're doing your I in breath, bringing it into your body, and it's affecting your solar plexus, which is calling one of the upper brains. And I know that science has recently been saying how the stomach has another brain in it. We don't just have this one up here, but we have one in our stomach as well. And I'm wondering if this is connected to the solar plexus. So you're working with your solar plexus to get that I, and then you am out. And when you're doing your am out, you're connecting to your spine and sending it all around your body. And again, if you go and read the Gurdjieff work, he discusses how the spine is a very, well, parts of our body are important, but the spine has neural nodes in it, which are the connection to everything and to ourselves. Like this, like the spine is what operates the whole of our body. It's all connected, isn't it? You know, our arms are connected to our shoulders, which are connected to our spine. Head's connected to our neck, which is connected to our spine. Our legs are connected to our hips, which are connected to our spine. So our spine is like the central movement that gets us around and about. On the one hand, these impulses can exist almost exclusively when one has one's own genuine I, and on the other hand, the I can be a man almost exclusively when he has in him these 3 impulses. So to try and find that genuine I, you have to work on yourself, look at all your other eyes, observe what they're doing, and try and bring that genuine I up and out. And the 3 impulses is working on the 3 impulses of ourselves, of mind, emotions, mood and body. And he goes on to that a bit more. There's more to it than that. We'll do 3 impulses another time. And he talks about how when you have your real I, your essence I, that is the real normal man. At the moment we're not normal, we're pretending to be man. We're not the genuine man that we really are. We're not real man, as he would call it. And I mean woman as well here. I'm just using man as a generic way of saying humanity. So don't get the I'm not doing my genders. I mean real man, real woman, real I. When a normal man, that is a man who already has his real I, his will, and all the other properties of a real man, pronounces aloud or to himself the words I am, then there always proceeds in him, in his solar plexus, a so to say reverberation. That is, something like a vibration, a feeling, or something of the sort. The I in a real man represents the totality of the functioning of his general psyche, whose factors had their origin in the remains in the let me start that again. The I in a real man represents the totality of the functioning of his general psyche, whose factors have their origin in the results of contemplation, or simply in the contact between the first two totalities, that is, between the factors of his inner world and of his outer world. And our inner world, when we're looking into ourselves, we often get distracted by our imagination. An inner world, is that a real world or not? It's real to us, isn't it? To the individual, each individual lives in his own inner world, which I don't know your inner world, you don't know my inner world, but we know our outer worlds, and our outer worlds are the everyday lives. So this is not just self-observation of yourself going out and about every day, doing your everyday activities, whether at work, shopping, blah, blah, blah. It's also looking at your inner world and what your inner world's doing and is up to, and trying to consciously work with it, which is what I was discussing yesterday, of the effort of putting in that effort of looking at yourself and working upon yourself. Now he says also, if there is I in one's presence, then God and devil are of no account. And I often ponder on this statement, because I wonder if it means that if you find your genuine I, then your conscience is awake and aware. Neither God nor the devil can tempt you either way, because you are balanced and being a real, genuine person. Can we attain it? According to Gurdjieff, we can if we work on ourselves. From the moment the process of his development is finished, a man becomes personally responsible for all his voluntary and involuntary manifestations. These age periods have been established by nature according to law for the acquisition of independent being with personal responsibility for all one's manifestations. When we're asleep and going through life day by day, we're not really responsible for our actions. So we like to think we are. We like to think that we're doing things because we wanted to do them, but most of the time we're manipulated in some kind of force of doing it, or through other people's actions, or we're just following the Joe blogs. We don't do things consciously, so that's not doing it for real, is it? That's not being a real person. But once we have that independent I of our own, then we will do things consciously and genuinely and live a real life, be a real person. I, that is this, something unknown of mine, once defined as a relatively transferable arising depending on the quality of the functioning of the thought, feeling and organic automatism, the compound result of consciousness, subconsciousness and instinct. We need to bring all them three together and work with them to develop ourselves into a harmonious person. Gurdjieff called his institute the harmonious development of man, which is what he's trying to bring here forward. He was trying to develop us so that we are harmonious. A harmonious being is a real, genuine, living being. We want to live a real, genuine life. Right, never do their outer manifestations in general, nor those inner being impulses of theirs, which ought to be under the directive of their being I, proceed according to their own wish, resulting from the whole of their entire presence. And that's like what I was saying earlier. We don't really do what we want to do. As in I'm saying about all my I personalities. I try to do what these different I's and personalities want to do, but it's not satisfying. It's not real living. That's living as an unnormal person. Whereas a normal, genuine, real person would live a proper life where he or she is doing what he or she wants, and he would be guided by his conscience, his subconscious, and his instinct would be working all together, and his consciousness would be working all together to direct him to do the right thing, which we don't really know when we're asleep, when we're living our lives in a half asleep state. We can't do the right thing. So we Continuing again from All and Everything. From a comprehensive and visible clarification of the difference between that I, which should be in the common presence of a man without quotation marks, that is a real man, and the pseudo I, which people today mistake for it, an analogy can be made: a carriage, horse, and coachman. The difference between a real man who has his own I and one who has not is indicated by the passenger sitting in the carriage. In the first case, the passenger is the owner of the carriage, and in the second, he is simply the first passer-by who is continuously being changed. And I'm sure many of you have heard of the horse carriage analogy for man. So every man is represented by a horse and carriage, and the horse is the emotions, the carriage is, I believe, the moving. I could get that wrong. I get this all mixed up quite a bit, but you've got your horse, your carriage, and the driver on top. And you know, the driver just goes willy-nilly here, there, and everywhere. So you need someone in the carriage to direct the driver, and that person in the carriage should be the real I, because the horse, carriage, and driver represents different versions of yourself, or different parts of you. And as I said about the emotions just now, the horse is definitely representing the emotions. I think the carriage is your moving, and maybe the driver's the intellect. I probably got that all wrong. I'm sure other people will leave comments or advise which is the right way. I haven't got that before me right now. So these are all different parts of you driving along on your horse and carriage, taking you here, there, and everywhere. But to actually go on a dedicated journey with ending in sight, with a purpose, it's the person inside the carriage which should be you, the real I. But what happens is different eyes of yourself keep getting into that carriage and tell your driver and your horse where to go, and the carriage takes you off. So you know, your working I goes in one day, and off you go to work, and you've got your working head on. You're going to see the family, your family version of yourself gets into that carriage and is driven off, and you're working like with your family head on, where a genuine real person or real I would be the one that would be a harmonious version of oneself, that would know what real work is and what to do, and not just go about life willy-nilly, as I keep saying. Having a purpose. So look at yourself at any moment and ask, what sort of I is it that is working at the moment? Does it belong to my intellectual center, to my emotional center, or to my moving center? The chief cause of our weakness is our inability to apply our will to all three of our centers simultaneously. And that's from views from a real world. And that's what I was saying about the different passengers getting into the carriage and going off. You know, it's a different version of yourself going, where if you had yourself centered, well, then you'd be able to work on yourself and have purpose. We must understand the difference between a casual passenger and the master of the cart. I is the master. If we have an I, if we have not, there is always someone sitting in the cart and giving orders to the driver. And there is always someone. We know that our minds never shut down, and our selves, one of our personalities is always there. One of our masks is always there, driving the carriage or telling the driver where to take the carriage. We want to be the master of ourselves. Right, here we go. This is from In Search of the Miraculous. Man has no permanent and unchangeable I. Every thought, every mood, every desire, every sensation says I. And in each case, it seems to be taken for granted that this I belongs to the whole. Each time his I is different. The alternation of I's, their continual struggle for supremacy, is controlled by accidental external influences. When I first started doing all this work, I used to think, no, like many people do, I have my one I. And then I started observing my eyes. And, you know, I'd make plans today for tomorrow. For example, I think, like, tomorrow I shall go and walk up that mountain. When tomorrow comes, and a different I is sitting in me going, I don't want to go up that mountain today. You know, I had the I that wanted to do it the day before is not the same I that was here today saying, I'm not going up that mountain. That's just one example. You know, this is how we are all the time. We think about going, oh, I'll go and You see a friend and you say, oh, we'll go to the cinema together next week or whatever. And we're both, yeah, we're up for that on the day that we say we're going to do it. But the day we actually arrange to do it, on that day, one of us doesn't want to do it. That's a different I in ourselves coming out and going, no, I'm here today, I'm being supreme and I don't want to go to the cinema. That kind of I. Education, imitation, reading, the hypnotism of religion, caste and traditions, or the glamour of new slogans create every strong eyes in man's personality, which dominate whole series of other weaker eyes. All eyes making up a man's personality are the result of external influences, which is what I was saying at the beginning of, it's how we're brought up and where we go to school and who influences us that makes all our different personalities come through and shine through when we want to use them or when we are using them for our different times in our lives. So it's asked, how can one strengthen the feeling of I and strengthen the activity of I? This is asked to Gurdjieff. And Gurdjieff replies, you cannot do anything about it. This should come as a result of all your efforts. By now, you should have felt your I differently. Try to ask yourself whether you notice the difference or not. I, as Spensky, tried to feel myself as G had shown us, but I must say that I did not notice any difference. That will come, said G, and when it does come, you will know. No doubt whatever is possible. It is quite a different feeling. Later, I, Ouspensky, understood about which kind of feeling, which kind of change. But I began to notice this only 2 years after this. So I think this here, I know you're saying it took him 2 years to start feeling these things, and I myself, it took many years, and it does, but hopefully if we work on ourselves constantly, continuously, I should have put more effort in when I was younger, and I was getting into all this, but I was distracted by life, as many of us are. We can work on ourselves and develop our genuine I. I'm just going to do another analogy. So this is from, I don't know which one this is from. Let me see, Z. It's from, it doesn't matter anyway. Let me just read it. Let us think of a rider on his horse, cantering along the side of the mountain. I is the rider, myself. The horse, I. This individual essence, this potential being, myself, this power of functional manifestation. My horse, because of his faulty education and the massive influences to which he has been subjected, and both of these aggravated by neglect, has become a monster of egoism. Lo and behold, if he is not at this very moment perching on the shoulders of his rider and crushing under his weight. So that's just another way of saying the coach analogy, and that's by Treacle, The Search for Things That Are True. So I'm going to finish with a couple of quotes from C.S. Knott. Our task is to die to this personality, which is a false thing, not our own. It may be necessary to melt it down in the fires of great suffering, but when this is done correctly, in its place will grow individuality. A man will become an individual possessing real will and an I. He will be himself. Beelzebub's tales are addressed to the dead, asleep in the tomb of the body. The book is of words uttered by I. What is understood in it will be acted upon. There is nothing in the book that I have not known. Sorry, I should turn my phone off. Beelzebub's tales are addressed to the dead, asleep in the tomb of the body. The book is of words uttered by I. What is understood in it will be acted upon. There is nothing in the book that I have not known, but as yet I have not woken up and realised it. And that is a quote actually from a Raj to C.S. Knott. A.R. Raj was one of Gurdjieff's students, as was Knott. I find both their writings fantastic to read to help me understand Beelzebub's tales and Gurdjieff's work and the waking up process. One last quote from Knott. We are dual natured, I and it, but we are only vaguely conscious of this state. As we are, the body is of no help to consciousness. When we have learned to separate I from it, then we may make use of the body. In doing Gurdjieff's movements and dances, we are making use of the body. We are constrained to make an effort to be conscious. And that again is actually a quote from Orage, but in Knott's books. And Gurdjieff talks a lot about I and it. If we can develop our real I, our genuine I, then we have the right to say I. Otherwise, when it's all these different personalities, it's actually it that is inside us. It is performing. That personality is performing, not the real I. But may you find your eyes. Let's all try and work on our eyes, and hope to speak again soon. Thank you very much for listening.